Hello everyone, my name is Sincerely Switch. In today's video, I have picked 8 games from across the Nintendo Switch's lifespan that are one-off titles, or maybe titles that have gotten one game on the Switch and one game on the Wii U, or maybe 2 games maximum. And I'm gonna rate, on this tier list, how likely I think we are to get a sequel or another installment of that game for the Switch 2. First up, we have ARMS. Now, ARMS ended up selling around 2.7 million copies on Switch, which is a decent amount. It's not a major IP, and it was definitely more gimmicky with the Switch motion controls. I've heard a lot of positive things about ARMS, and I think that I could definitely see it getting a sequel. I don't think it's extremely likely, but I would be pleasantly surprised if we did get an ARMS 2 on the Switch too. Now next up, going from a game that would make an amazing sequel to one that should never be done again is Everybody 1-2 Switch. Now, Everybody 1-2 Switch is already a sequel to the original 1-2 Switch that came out on launch day of the Switch 1, and it was very gimmicky mini-games that were fun once, and then it's like, you never play again. I don't know how this game got a sequel in the first place, but it definitely should not get a third installment on the Switch too. Up next is Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. Now, this was like a top-selling game on Switch for basically just being a collection of little everyday games that you would play around your house. But I think due to the popularity of it, it's actually very likely to get a sequel on Switch too, keeping the 51 games it already has and maybe adding about 10 more. It could also get a Switch 2 edition with some extra games, but I think due to the nature of the Clubhouse games, they would just completely redo it into a new game that would add the 10 extra games. Now next up, another very likely game, Nintendo Switch Sports. Now we did get Wii Sports and now Nintendo Switch Sports, so it looks like we are kind of getting this every console, but with the backwards compatibility, it really seems like it would be 50-50 on if we would get Nintendo Switch Sports. However, there are leaks and rumors that we are getting something for Nintendo Switch Sports on the Switch 2, likely a Switch 2 edition. Now, I did outline the possibilities for that in another video. I will link it in the top corner, and you can go check that out when you're done watching this one. But I do think it is very likely that we see a Switch Sports Resort Switch 2 edition for this game. The next game is Snipper Clips, which was another launch title for the Switch 1. It wasn't extremely popular, and I hesitate to put in never again, but is definitely not likely to get any kind of sequel, and I think if it did, it would have been another launch title. So it's almost zero chance, but it's definitely more likely and more deserving than Everybody 1-2 Switch. Now our last couple games are some one-off IPs, or some spin-off games that I think we could see a sequel of. First up is Astral Chain, made by the same creators that make the Bayonetta series, and this was a pretty well-loved RPG. Now, I definitely see this being a one-off, but with the love it received, I definitely could see it getting a sequel as well. I'm going to go ahead and place this in 50-50. I feel like I would be happy getting an Astral Chain 2, but I definitely kind of see it as more of a standalone game. Though given its popularity on Switch, Nintendo could definitely be likely to give it a sequel on Switch too. Our penultimate game is Princess Peach Showtime. Now, Peach has really only gotten one other game in the past. I knew the general feedback on Princess Peach Showtime that it felt like a game for little kids, but it looked amazing visually, and it looked really fun. I personally never got the chance to play it, but I could definitely see it getting a sequel. However, I think I'm going to move it down slightly into 50-50, because I don't know how likely it is for us actually to get another game starring Peach, especially with everything else Mario-related that would come out on the Switch first. I could definitely see them making a 3D Mario and a Super Mario Maker 3 way before they would make another Peach game. I definitely think if it does come out, it would be mid to late in the console's life. Our final game is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, based off the levels in Super Mario 3D World. Now, this game originally came out for the Wii U and was remade on Switch, and I really liked the Captain Toad levels within 3D World. I definitely feel like this is a game worth picking up. And I actually could see it getting a sequel. I think adding some new levels, and possibly adding mouse mode to it, I think it could be a nice game to show that off. So I could definitely see it, but I think ARMS is slightly more likely, so I'll place it below that on the tier list. Thank you for watching, and let me know in the comments which games you would like to see get a sequel on the Nintendo Switch 2. And if you're excited for all things Nintendo Switch and Switch 2, go ahead and leave a like on this video and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and have a great rest of your day. Sincerely, Switch.